Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour over 2 years ago just to keep everybody together, because even when the world is terrible, stories are awesome and stories can bring us all together. So that is what we do every Wednesday. We have 2 writers reading from their own work and shining a little light on some favorite nonprofits of theirs. Tonight, we are fortunate to have Kel Coleman in their debut on Story Hour and returning favorite, Gabriela Santiago. If you are fortunate enough to help others, please consider a donation to tonight's featured nonprofits, Hearts on a Wire and Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. Kel Coleman is reading for Hearts on a Wire. Hearts on a Wire is a grassroots inside-outside prison advocacy organization working to address the needs of transgender people in Pennsylvania's prisons. It's building a movement for gender self-determination, racial and economic justice, and an end to policing and imprisoning of our communities. You can learn more at heartsonwire.org. Gabriela Santiago is reading for Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. ASAN believes that the goal of autism advocacy should be a world in which autistic people enjoy equal access, rights, and opportunities. ASAN works to empower autistic people across the world to take control of their own lives and the future of the common community, and to seek to organize the community to ensure that autistic voices are heard at the national conversation about autism. ASAN says nothing about us without us. You can learn more at autisticadvocacy.org. If you're here on Zoom, feel free to leave your camera on. It can be really nice to get a little bit of eye contact. And chime in on the text chat if you like. If you're joining us on Facebook, thank you so much. But please understand that we're not monitoring that very closely, and so we may not be able to follow up to your comments right away. And our first reader tonight is Kel Coleman. Kel Coleman is a mom, editor, and Ignite-nominated author. Their fiction has appeared in Faya, Anathema, Spec from the Margins, Apparition Lit, and others. Although Kel is a Marylander at heart, they currently reside in the Philadelphia area with their husband, Tiny Human, and stuffed dragon named Pen. I would also like to point out that that sentence is a great example of proper use of the serial comma. You can find them at kelcoleman.com and on Twitter at kcolemanwrites. Kel, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It is our honor and our pleasure. So I understand you have a few stories for us tonight.
Yes, I have 2 stories. One is a flash piece about people heading towards the end of the world, and the other is a short story post-apocalypse. So I think they're kind of thematically resonant with one another, but 2 very different stories. And so should I just get started, Laura? Okay. The first piece I'm going to read is called Cirque Mécanique. A black beetle skitters across row H, seat 12, unconcerned by the metallic groans below. It pauses when a distant spotlight cuts the gloom and reveals a figure standing on a squat podium in the center of the ring. The beetle should hop back down into the aisle, find the hole in the tent it crawled through and make its way home. Instead, it waits to see what will happen next. The ringmaster, like all of Cirque Mécanique's performers, is a marvel of early 22nd century engineering. Her skin sloughed away years ago, but all the better to wonder at her sleek charcoal gray bones, minimalist polymer musculature, and stunning array of motors, cylinders, pistons, and mosaic circuitry. In a lush waistcoat of peacock blues and greens, the ringmaster spins in a tight circle, arms flung wide to welcome her audience. Her gaze passes over the stands, bulbous milky eyes protruding from a bare metal skull. The beetle teeters on the edge of the seat. The ringmaster has a talent for making each spectator feel special and seen. Speakers crackle to life as the time for applause passes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The ringmaster's voice drips with the sticky sweetness of candied apples. Thank you for choosing Cirque Mécanique, the world's first all-mechanical circus. A jaunty brass band erupts from the speakers and the lights come up. 3 acrobats, arranged in a semicircle around the ringmaster, twirl thick copper pipes like batons. Gaudy sequin suits hang in tatters from their skeletons. Behind them, 2 hulking elephants stamp metal feet, their flanks and bobbing trunks clutching at remnants of wrinkled brown-gray skin. There are 10 seconds of relative silence, cut only by cheery trumpets, tubas, and trombones as the ringmaster allows for more applause. Then, still whirling slowly, she says, "Whether this is your first or 50th show with us, you are in for a treat. No 2 shows are the same. And since all of our performers are state-of-the-art robots, including yours truly, and we run almost exclusively on solar, our circus is 100% humane and doing its part to rescue the environment. So grab a bag of popcorn or a box of candy from your nearest vendor, sit back and lose yourself to the magic of Cirque Mécanique." With this, the ringmaster backsteps across the faux sand floor, half bowing, and disappears through the backstage curtain. Out in the ring, the acrobats' pistons work overtime to propel them through complicated tricks and onto the elephants' backs with a clank of metal on metal. Behind the curtain, the ringmaster hopes nothing goes wrong. Of all the remaining performers, she's the only one aware of what this place was and what it could be again if the owner Edith, the human crew, and the crowds returned. She knows she shouldn't waste the lubricant and what remains of their costumes and bodies, but she puts on a show once a year with stored solar. It's the only thing that's kept her creaking bones going. During the 14th show post-humans, the tightrope, loose from lack of maintenance, dumped 2 performers to the ground, shattering one's plastic hip and snapping a total of 9 aluminum filaments in the other's arms. The ringmaster had almost quit then, almost decided not to charge herself. She had wanted to join the rest of her crew in black oblivion. But Edith's presence had echoed across the years, preserved in her hard drive. Stimulus, slow night, plus malfunctions in the sound and lighting departments. 3 customers walk out. Effect, worry, response, frown, run your fingers through your hair. Stimulus. Edith puts her hand on your shoulder. She says, "The show must go on, my sweet," with as much love and attention with which it began. Effect, comfort, affection, response, cease frowning, make eye contact with Edith, smile. The night of the tightrope accident, the ringmaster shut down the shattered performers and put them in storage, the best she could do for them. Buoyed by her responsibility to the circus and a dim yet steady hope, she'd adjusted the program to exclude some of their most impressive acts like aerial silks and high wire tricks, stepped into her charging station and scheduled herself to wake in 364 days. Decades later, she wonders, what is the point of dress rehearsals that prepare for nothing? All they do is further degrade her crew and the equipment. With no audience, no Edith, and finally no passion, the ringmaster is certain. Tonight will be the last grand finale. 5 clowns line up next to the ringmaster backstage. 2 of them straddle unicycles. 1 has a wicker basket strapped to their back. None of them speak with her like the human crew used to. The ringmaster feels a twinge, but cloaks herself in an enchanting persona, not unlike her stylish waistcoat, and steps through the curtain. The acrobats are finishing a series of flips from one elephant's back to the next, and so on. The clank of metal covered by the crescendo of tense music. Then they each vault over their skeletal beast in an impossibly high arc. The ringmaster's stride falters. She freezes, paces from her mark. Borrowing Edith's saying for tense and fearful moments, she whispers, "Please, God." Each acrobat nails their quintuple somersault and, "Please, God, lands on the other side with a grinding of bent knees. The ringmaster's thunderous applause bounces off the tents as she glides to her podium. She beams at the acrobats who look at, but don't see her. They bow and lead the elephants backstage, crossing paths with clowns surging into the ring. The clowns' costumes are intact, if a little dusty, salvaged from storage for this final show. Their face paint, circles and swirls of white, pink, and black, is smeared directly onto their skulls. With a flutter of pleasure at seeing her handiwork under the stage lights, the ringmaster allows herself to be pulled into their vortex of chaos. She makes a good show of being put out as they poke, bonk, and spin her in circles, waggling her finger and landing a good kick to one clown's tush. Meanwhile, the beetle tumbles down from seat 12 and into the aisle, drawn to the riot of lights. It misses the main guffaw when the mime's invisible wall causes the baker to tumble off their unicycle. It also misses the baker getting their revenge on the mime with a pummeling of whipped cream pies from their wicker basket. The beetle crawls over the edge of the ring and down to the faux land floor just as the clowns run off stage. The lights squeeze to a tight circle around the ringmaster once again. She lets exasperation color her tone and blows absent hair out of her face with an exaggerated huff. We'll see how funny they are when I send them to live with you. She pauses for laughter. There is silence. Now, she says, our next act is not for the faint of heart. The music shifts to classical string, an edgy thrum of dark promise. Parents, I recommend securing children under 5 and reminding them that they aren't in any danger. The beetle scurries across the sand, staying close to the high ring wall. The ringmaster closes her eyes for a moment to savor her anticipation, then turns to face the curtain. The 3 acrobats, naked except for black vinyl vests, lead tigers into the ring with chained collars. Stripped to steel bones and striped orange rags, the immense felines stand out around her podium with fluid menace. They pull on their chains and dig their claws into the sand, desperate for their prey, fleshless mouths emitting deep growls. This is the ringmaster's favorite part. She feigns terror and listens. The metal clinking sound is barely audible over the guttural threats and bleak violins, but her timing is flawless. She reaches up without looking, just as one of the tigers lunges for her and her hands close around a bar. It pulls her to the top of the tent and the tigers snarl at their escaped quarry until their attention is drawn to a pair of clowns entering the ring with oversized hoops. From a narrow overhead walkway, the ringmaster watches the tigers jump through flaming hoops with acrobats on the other side acting as bait. The humanoid performers always backflip or cartwheel out of the way just in time, while the tension builds and the misses become nearer and nearer. The ringmaster can't help but think of the dogs. The troop of fluffy white bichons frisés could do tricks no real dogs could. Stack 8 high, then leap onto minuscule pedestals one by one, paw portraits of clowns in the sand, and ride the tigers around the ring like fierce jockeys. They should be here to close out the show, but they were the first of the performers sold off as the circus entered its last month of operation. Stimulus. Edith loads the last fuzzy robot into a crate, wipes away tears. Effect, concern, response. Put your hand on her shoulder. Tell her the show must go on. The ringmaster swivels her head to stretch the filaments in her neck, looks down for her cue to descend in spots. At first, she thinks it's just a speck of detritus, maybe another broken off piece of one of her performers, and it moves. Slowly, but it definitely moves along the edge of the ring, a black spot against the beige ground. It's headed toward the curtain in the dark crevices backstage. The ringmaster hasn't seen a living, truly living creature in a long time. The bar won't descend to the ring again for another 86 seconds, and it would take just as long for the ringmaster to run down the stairs to the main floor. She jogs the length of the walkway until she's hovering over the curtain. The black speck has almost reached it. Filled with desperation and a rush of something she thought lost, the ringmaster braces a hand on the walkway's railing and vaults toward the curtain. Her fingers catch air, and she falls. Coarse fabric brushes her legs, and she clamps her ankles around a fold in the curtain, causing her to swing in an arc until she's upside down. Momentum carries her closer to the ground, and she clings tight to scant centimeters of cloth with her feet. From her inverted vantage point, she watches the creature vanish under the curtain. She could let go, hope to land like one of the acrobats, knees bent to absorb the impact, but what if she doesn't? Her crew would finish the show, automatically go to their charging stations when their batteries ran low, and leave her broken in the ring. Much as she is ready to power down, she doesn't want Edith to find her like that when she returns. The ringmaster swings up to grab hold with her hands and lowers herself to the ring. Her bar is rising back to the top of the tent, and warm with the joie de vivre brought on by the creature's appearance, she rushes to get in place to finish the show. The music has shifted back to jaunty brass, and the ringmaster joins her performers in a frenzy of dance, smiling grandly, waistcoat twirling. On the other side of the curtain, the beetle journeys through halls and stairwells. Soon, it is tired and disoriented. It crawls through a crack under a door, climbs something hard in the dark, and finds a soft heap on which to rest. In the ring, the finale comes to a close. The elephants are back and swinging their trunks. The tigers steady themselves on hind legs and paw the air, and the humanoid performers stand around the podium in unison. In unison, the ringmaster and her crew turn their cloudy gazes and painted skulls up to the stands and take a bow. A marvelous performance, their best in years. The ringmaster squeezes the hands in hers and overlays the empty stands with a memory. Stimulus. The crowd is on its feet, applauding raucously. Effect, elation, pride, response. Straighten from your third bow. Step away from the other performers, wave and blow kisses at the audience. Stimulus. A little girl sits on the ring wall, stares at you. Effect, geniality. Response. Approach her. Smile. Stimulus. Little girl grins, sits up straighter. The graphic on her tee stands out. A striped tent flap held open by a woman with glittering gold skin and wearing an emerald waistcoat. Effect. Delight, affection. Response. Tell the little girl, I love your shirt. Hours later, the ringmaster has cleaned the paint from the clown's skulls, stripped everyone to their skin or bones, and out of habit, sent them to charge in the storage room. She didn't program them to automatically wake in 364 days. Naked herself, she sits on a trunk of ruined costumes, steel spine straight, hands loose at her sides. She sits there so long, her battery chimes a warning. There was a time she wouldn't have been able to ignore it, but out of necessity, she has become more than her programming. The cost is that she has also become less. Sometime later, another trilling of beep, 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 and still later, beep, 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 beep. When something moves at the edge of her vision, the ringmaster sluggishly turns her head. A tiny creature frees itself from the heap of torn spandex and looks up at her. The ringmaster speaks slowly, so slowly. Did you like our show? You missed the finale. It takes a lot of effort to rotate her wrist, but she is rewarded when the creature crawls closer and onto her palm. The beetle is startled by a series of frenetic vibrations, and it tries to escape back down to the lid of the trunk. It's lifted into the air and struggles to maintain its grip on the ringmaster's thumb as she brings it closer to her face, peering down with a lipless smile. One moment, she tells it. She shakes the beetle back into her palm and closes it in a tight but gentle fist. The beetle's world goes dark and bumpy, and there's a long, repetitious creaking. Several minutes pass, and it considers biting the hand that holds it. Then there is a massive jostling, and it's upside down, legs kicking air. After a click and a chime, it's right side up again, and there's light. I am sorry about that, says the ringmaster, settling into the charging station, a large clip around her waist, prongs embedded into her sides. On her left, the clowns are powered down and charging. On her right, the acrobats. The ringmaster holds the creature up to her eye line. It toddles back and forth along her palm. So the humans are on their way. Back, yes. She doesn't expect an answer, or if one is forthcoming, she doesn't expect to understand it. It's just nice having someone to talk to. It would make sense if one living creature has found our show again. More will follow. I hope Edith won't be too disappointed. I've done my best. The beetle stops pacing, calmed by the vocal vibrations and rising body temperature of the ringmaster. Her smooth shell is so like its own. So that was Cirque Mécanique. Thanks. And okay, now I'm going to read In the Absence of an Epilogue. I wake up and remember the world is ending soon. It's like sudden summer rain, startling, consuming, enchanting in its inescapability. My roommate went east with his family yesterday. He wasn't into conspiracy theories like his parents, but he figured if there were safe zones for the rich and powerful, it couldn't hurt to be nearby. And he said, I don't want to die alone. I wonder why dying with me counted as dying alone. I leave the echo of the apartment, carrying only the essentials, clothes and some food, and my mother's wedding bands, and a paperback copy of The Giver, pages wavy from water damage, and a half bottle of blue liqueur. I find myself in an old boyfriend's neighborhood, standing in the cul-de-sac listening to the buzzing of insects. I half expect him to call down from his bedroom window, but the front yard tells me no one's been home for a while. Using a key hidden in the flower garden, I let myself into the dim, muggy house. I strip to my boxers to keep from sweating, huddle on a dusty sofa, and have a little panic attack while the light fades. The next day, I run into a group of college students who had nowhere to go when campus closed. They claim to be anarchists. They don't require the services of an accountant, and I'm not a big guy, so I can't help with intimidation. I offer them the liqueur, though, and they let me tag along. We rob a man in the parking lot of a barter-only grocery store. He refuses to hand over his single brown bag and gets a bloody nose for his trouble. And for our trouble, 2 boxes of cereal and a can of condensed milk. I can't stop seeing the man's defeated expression, feeling the student's filthy t-shirt tear as I pull her off of him, imagining who that cereal was meant for. I sneak away when the group gets back to the dorms and head for the highway. Hitchhiking with no particular destination, I luck out. The driver and I ride for a couple hours in amiable silence. She drops me off after I spot a dive with its lights magically on. The place is empty except for the graying owner, who doesn't charge me, just goes shot for shot with me until the room's hot and spinning. He invites me to a studio above the bar. I never much cared for sex, so damp and invasive, but he's soft and smells like peppermint. Afterwards, he tucks me under his arm, and his silver chest hair sounds like crumpled paper beneath my palm. I say, I don't know why I'm crying. He kisses the top of my head, which only makes me cry harder. Maybe he's used to people passing through his bar on their way to the end, and them coming to terms with it being kind of a letdown. The studio shudders and we both startle. Then we laugh, embarrassed, me through tears. Not yet, we know logically. Soon though. And that's it.
Kel, those were lovely.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you think so.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for letting me share them.
It is our honor and our pleasure. Oh, goodness. We like to take a quick break between the readers to take a breath. I sometimes find that the stories steal my breath from me and I need a fresh one. Thank you. Our next reader is Gabriela Santiago. Gabriela Santiago is a Clarion graduate and a member of Team Tiny Bonesaw, whose work has previously been published in Clark's World, Strange Horizons, The Dark, and Lady Churchill's Rosebud Wristlet, among others. A performer with such Twin Cities institutions as Patrick's Cabaret, Raw Sugar, Outspoken, Gadfly, Queertopia, and Mother Goose's Bedtime Stories, she is also the founder and curator of Revolutionary Jetpacks, a science fiction cabaret centering futures imagined by BIPOC, queer and trans, and disabled artists. That sounds really cool. She is writing 3 novels and needs to be persuaded not to start a podcast. You can follow her at Life on Earth 89 on Twitter. Gabriela, welcome.
Hello. I will be reading my story, Fourth is the Dwarf and the Wedding Dress, content warnings for violence against and between children, and it is about playground rhymes. So if you remember from your own childhood, those contain a lot of elements of sexism and racism and other isms. I'm obsessed with kid culture. It was playground rhymes that broke the world. It was the rhymes waiting underneath the grass and the asphalt and the sand. It wasn't us. We were the good kids. I had a weird dream, Sarah Beth was saying, that recess the day before it happened. There was something under the asphalt. That's not a weird dream, Lizzie Beth said, shaking her blonde ponytail. I had a really weird dream. There was a thing under the asphalt and it was under the wood chips, around the slide and the swings and the wooden bridge. You couldn't see it, but it was really cool. It understood. How did you know it was cool if you couldn't see it? Lucy asked, and we ignored her. Lucy was only our second best friend. Well, I had my weird dream all week, Sarah Beth said, crossing her dark, skinny arms. It laughed, but I didn't know why, and I thought it was funny, but then my tummy started to hurt, and there were clouds, and it was dark, and I was scared because I just knew. I had mine for a month, Lizzie Beth said. She was lying. We both know this now, but Sarah Beth only suspected then. The laugh tasted like ice cream, like right before you eat too much ice cream when you think you could eat all the ice cream in the world. The best feeling. In my dream, there's a wall, Lucy began, but then the bell rang and we bolted for the classroom, leaving her behind like we always did because no one could run as fast as us. No one in the whole wide world. First is the worst, second is the best, third is the one with the treasure chest. That was our favorite rhyme. Before the playground rhymes broke the world, sometimes Miss Cranton would have us stay inside during recess and be her little helpers, and we would yell it at the kids racing in, or sometimes we'd yell at racing in ourselves, faster, then slower, then faster, trying to get that second or third place. First is the worst, and we'd slow down so Anthony Michaels went tripping through the door before us, and second is the best, and we burst through like one body triumphant, and third is the one with the treasure chest, as Harry Esposito pushed Jenny Chen out of the way, and then that perfect bang it out word rhythm, the way it hit the floor and the walls and the smooth tops of the desks. would falter and fall apart. Fourth is the one, Sarah Beth would start, as Tommy Jankowski came skidding in. Is a dwarf, Lizzie Beth would shout over her, Tommy crashing into his desk, Derek and Amy going too fast to keep from piling up against him, too. In the wedding dress, Sarah Beth would insist, a few other kids chorusing weakly behind her. Sarah Beth would say that fourth is the one in the wedding dress was better because then girls could race for it like a good thing, and then if a boy got it, it was really funny. Lizzie Beth would say, fourth is a dwarf because the last rhyme should rhyme the way the first one did. It sounded better. Also, she'd seen that Hobbit movie and dwarves were cool. Sarah Beth would roll her eyes and say it wasn't that kind of a dwarf. It was a real person dwarf, the kind grown-ups got mad if you said dwarf or midget instead of little person, and so that rhyme was mean. Lizzie Beth would shoot back that Sarah Beth was a baby. Miss Cranston would give us her not this again, don't you dare look. So Lizzie Beth would glare like she could laser beam Sarah Beth's brain into her way of thinking. And Sarah Beth would look at everything besides Lizzie Beth, just waiting until Miss Cranston brought out the math book. And then Lizzie Beth needed her help with addition long enough to stop caring about her stupid wrong version of the rhyme. We fought over that rhyme worse than we ever fought over broken Barbies or unsent birthday invitations or favorite Babysitters Club books or anything. We fought over it that stupid, stabbing, angry, spitting way you fight with your best friend when you realize you're not the same person and it never will be, and it hurts like you're being torn in half, like your heart is just gonna ache and bleed forever and ever. We can't really fight over it anymore. The playground rhymes were waiting that day, under the asphalt and under the wood chips, and we knew it even though we didn't know it. We knew something was there, the thing from the dream, the whispers and the laughs and the wanting, the pounding against a cracking glass wall there under the dirt, there in the backs of our minds. We knew and we could taste it on our tongues, sweet like chocolate and salty like blood. Lizzie Beth sit, had a fit, kissed a German idiot. It was a crackling, buttery, hot, fizzy feel, like popcorn and soda pop in our stomachs while we waited for the purple velvet curtain to rise. It made us run faster, breathe harder, rubber soles slapping against the wooden bridge, the blue plastic slide skidding on the wood chips. We ran and we lunged, leapt, stomped, shoved. We burned our palms on the ropes and we scraped our knees on the wood and we banged our elbows against the plastic, and the burn and the blood and the pain just made us grin, just made us feel like wolves with our teeth out, leaping up with our hearts pumping, rejoining the pack, bringing down the prey. Sarah Beth sit, had a fit, kissed a German idiot. Sarah Beth loved the game, and she loved playing it with Lizzie Beth. Loved the flow of it like a back and forth river as you tagged a kid and the kid tagged you and you tagged your best friend in the whole wide world. Lizzie Beth loved the game, and she loved the words, the sparkle and the flash and the snap of them, the way her and Sarah Beth's and all the other kids' voices blended together into one, the sizzle and soar and bigger than you sugar salt words as you chanted them and felt them blast into you and out of you and stamp you on the world. She loved the hit of the tongue and lips and teeth as the air came up from your lungs as a curl of something dark and secret sweet curled up nice and neat in her heart. Lucy's it, had a fit, kissed a German idiot, and we were fast, too fast for Lucy, too fast for the world. And everyone else was faster too, and we were wolves and cheetahs, and our teeth were sharp, and Lucy was prey. Lucy was always prey with her watery blue eyes and her soft pale skin, and we laughed as we darted away from her pudgy pink hands, so slow, so soft and slow, and we could feel the thing under the asphalt and the wood chips, and it was strong like us, and so it reached up and pushed. Lucy's it. You guys had a fit. Stop it, you guys. Kiss. Lucy was twitching and we were laughing. Lizzie Beth was laughing and Sarah Beth was laughing, but she was thinking that maybe kissed a German idiot. And Lucy tripped on her untied shoelace and she hit the ground and the world broke open beneath her, and the first part of the thing broke through Lucy. Her head shrank, and her left eye shrank inside her head, and she was clutching at her heart, and we tasted blood and milk chocolate as the spots popped up all over her skin, yellow and red and black, and we laughed and felt ice up our spines, and we laughed, hearts on a roller coaster, and her lopsided eyes went misty far away, and she lurched up, not Lucy, and Sarah Beth started to say, "We're sorry, but..." And Lizzie Beth started to say, "We didn't do anything." And the thing from under the asphalt and the wood chips and the dirt below, the thing in Not Lucy, the rhyme that was part of some larger rhyme, the it, reached out inside us, long, dark, licorice sweet tendrils. "Jamie and Jason," said the idiot, "sitting in a tree. Kissing. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby in a baby carriage." And it was right. There stood Jamie and Jason, panting with the effort of chasing, from being chased hand in hand, best friends like Sarah Beth and Lizzie Beth. And who did they think they were, trying to be best friends like Sarah Beth and Lizzie Beth? Didn't they know how the world worked? Didn't they know that Jason was a boy and Jamie was a girl? What did they think was going to happen? "Jamie and Jason," Lizzie snarled, and the rest of the kids took it up behind her, "sitting in a tree." And Jamie and Jason's fingers started melting together, not quite disappearing into flesh, no, stretching, lengthening, pushing through it like tree roots through clay. Kissing, stretching out over and over through each other's skin like tree roots, pushing, 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 until their whole bodies were fused together, and there was a thing pushing out of them. Face, a soft, puffy baby face with fat cheeks and little eyes and a little nose and a little mouth. And the little baby face waved its Jason and Jamie arms and gurgled and laughed, and it said, "Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees, look at these." Yes, Lizzie had thought, yes. Because the rhyme was right, because look at Jenny Chen, really look at her, just realizing something is happening to her. Look at that fat face with its quick blushing cheeks disappearing, her always weeping eyes behind her glasses. Look at that dumb book she hides behind. Listen to her name, Jenny Chen, Jenny Chen, Jenny Chen. She wants to rhyme. She wants to be broken into. She's asking for it. Chinese, Japanese. The words burst ripe and blood full and true from Lizzie's lips, leading the chorus. "Dirty knees," Sarah whispered, and it was like holding back a wolf to make her voice whisper. The rhyme was curling in her heart, saying it wasn't so bad, not so bad. Who did Jenny think she was, getting to be different? She bit her lip, but the words pushed out, a strangled sound lost beneath the other children's roar. "Look at these." And on the last line, some of the kids grabbed their crotches or their butts or their fronts, where girls would get breasts someday. And some of the kids were still twisting the skin around their eyes. And when they grabbed, they began to swell and bulge like faulty balloons. And where they were twisting and pulling, their fingers stuck. And they were still chanting, and Jenny Chen was shrinking. No, only parts of her were shrinking. Her head and her torso and the tops of her legs, all her fat sliding down her body to lump around her grass-stained knees as the legs beneath her knees stretched stork-like. And worse than everything was the taste of guilt in Sarah's mouth, flat and metallic like tinfoil, and the weight of the guilt pressing down on her all the ways she didn't have words for it. And Sarah was dizzy, and everywhere Sarah looked were kids halfway turning into things like the things she wasn't ever supposed to look at, dark thrift store dolls with liver lips and too many teeth, oily skinned plastic dolls out of back pages of bad magazines, banana skinned villains out of old comic books. And Lizzie was smiling, and Lizzie was her friend, so it had to be all right, didn't it? Didn't Sarah have to be wrong? And all the other rhymes were continuing, spiraling off in fractures and disputed areas, the KASSING splitting into bouncing off the walls, playing basketball, drinking alcohol. And they were ringed all around us, the idiot, the dirty knees, the KISSING, hurting us forward. Though Lizzie needed no hurting, Lizzie grabbed Sarah's hand and pulled her along with those others not yet fully changed towards the popular girls with pigtails, jumping rope on the blacktop. And we heard the drumbeat machine gun fire of their words in time with the jumping rope and the basketballs that no longer had hands bouncing them. The rhymes bowed to the jump roping girls, to their coming queen. The eyes of the popular girls were panicked. The eyes of the popular girls sparkled with delight. Their eyes were weeping with terror and joy. Their mouths opening and closing like slapping shut automatons. Their mouths savoring and slurping the rhyme as the thing behind the rhyme, the coming queen of all the rhymes, the rhyme itself pushed through into the world and shattered all its laws forever. Miss Mary Mac, 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 all dressed in black, 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 with silver buttons, buttons, buttons all down her back, back, back. And all the girls began to stretch as though their bones were lengthening. The rest of their bodies were not, the skin turning to black cloth and stretching over jagged spikes, and their spines arching and glowing silver, their clothing ash burning to black silk that draped them like governesses, and their mouths kept making the words pop out light and perfect and right. Miss Mary Mac, 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 as their mouths stretched open like they were screaming as they began to choke, to cough, and they retched forth black slime and quarters and silver buttons, buttons, buttons. Sarah was lost. Sarah was losing. Sarah just wanted her parents to show up and make it stop, make the world make sense and go back in straight lines, but she could feel the rhyme reaching for her, pushing rhymes up inside her, and she knew that it was feeding, spreading, sprawling fungus, and there was nothing she could do. The clinking sound as the buttons hit the blacktop was a light and silver laugh to Lizzie. She was dizzy, she was soaring, she was a bird of prey, and she would strike and slash in service to her queen and never have to say sorry again. I will serve you forever, thought Lizzie. I will be your lady in waiting, your princess, your white knight. She began to kneel. Sarah saw her friend begin to kneel. Sarah Beth grabbed her shoulder. No, said Sarah Beth, and it was so hard to get past her lips. It seemed like it was all she could ever say, but when it popped out, more not rhyme words were waiting, pushing behind it. No, don't, not that, not ever that. The bodies straightened. The faces went still. Miss Mary Max in her 7 bodies turned in one movement towards us, and we saw her eyes and her necklaces. Her 14 eyes were silver buttons, and her 7 necks were strung with ivory cameos carved with the screaming faces of 7 little girls. Run, Sarah Beth yelled at Lizzie Beth, and we ran towards the school, and the other kids followed us, and the rhymes were behind us, the servants of the high court of Miss Mary Mac. They came on paws and tentacles and long legs and short legs and no legs, their claws cutting into the turf as they thundered behind us, their voices whispering, uncurling in our minds, stroking our thoughts for a handhold. The steamboat went to hello, operator, please give me number 9. And Lizzie Beth was running because Sarah Beth was running, but she didn't know why Sarah Beth was running. The rhymes were beautiful, the rhymes were true, but if Sarah Beth was running, then she must be right. Spiders crawling up your back, and the arms and legs of the children around us split, extended, cracked twice in the middle, and they waved them in the air. And Sarah Beth was slowing down because Lizzie Beth was slowing down because she couldn't leave her behind. Crack an egg on your head, let the blood run down. And yolks dripped down the heads next to us, and eyes dripped down, and the tops of heads slipped and slid and slurped down the faces like melting ice, skidding in dribbles and chunks down the fronts and backs, and the bodies lurching, lurching forward, and Sarah Beth slipped in a puddle, and a black spotted hand reached out to her. And Sarah Beth's eyes got so wide that Lizzie Beth knew it was a bad thing. No, Lizzie Beth yelled and stomped the hand and pulled Sarah Beth up and pushed her into the school doorway. We were running for the principal, for the teacher, for people we didn't know couldn't help us. We were almost to the classroom. And our rhyme caught us. It was like a dark tendril catching around the corners of our hearts, a vine twining up our ribcage and around our lungs until it could slide the words up our throats and unfurl them past our lips. First is the worst. And Alex was rolling on the floor, boneless, tentacles twitching from his gelatinous form. Second is the best. And Molly's skin cracked, and through the cracks gleamed golden light that it hurt to look at. It hurt to look at the golden claws that ripped through her fingernails and the golden wings that ripped out of her shoulder blades, and her red blood ran down her face as mouths with little golden fangs ripped through her skin. Third is the one with the treasure chest. And Theo's back bent and snapped under the weight of his stomach, beams of wood bursting through his t-shirt and splintering as they spilled his guts to the ground. And we could not stop the next line, our line. It pushed out of our mouths as we gripped each other's hands. Fourth is a dwarf, the one in the wedding dress. And our voices broke apart the way they always did, and our rhyme snagged. It screamed. The part of the thing that was almost all the way into our heads meshed, and it tore and it clanged and it banged in an off-key tune. Sarah Beth stumbled and Lizzie Beth fell, and our worlds pressed together, tore apart, blurred, fractured, melted, and melded together at uneven seams. And when we could finally stand, the rhymes did not pursue us. When playground rhymes broke into the world, other things came through. After we ran from our school, we saw some families, grown-ups and toddlers, trying to defend themselves with nursery rhymes. The grown-ups chanted and the babies listened, and the little kids' belief hung life on the word skeletons. But the things we saw them call up were soft and bloated, light pink and blue balloons of flesh, Disney cartoons of the sharp and scratching power that nursery rhymes might have been if third graders like us had done the calling for them. Lizzie Beth said it was because the grown-ups weren't mean enough, didn't like being mean enough. Sarah Beth said it was because the toddlers didn't know enough words, couldn't concentrate. We watched the nursery rhymes bumble back and forth, bumping into each other in the walls, their anime eyes blank and vacant. The nursery rhymes just stood there as the playground rhymes came for the families. We just stood there too. Lizzie Beth wanted to fight them, but Sarah Beth was too afraid. What happened at school might have been a one-time miracle. We stayed in the shadows, stalked a group of slam poets for a week, tall teenagers slouching along in a pink pickup truck with a boombox blaring from the back, the poets rapping along with hard-hitting consonants and long, low, mournful vowels, pushing back the playground rhymes with the weapons they called up, words so raw and rough that Sarah Beth and Lizzie Beth couldn't believe the poets' throats didn't rip as they roared out their own monsters, dark, scuttling, spidery things with eyes made of mirror shards and razor blade legs that slashed and ripped the playground rhymes to shreds in seconds. We had favorites, of course. Lizzie Beth loved Ty, all brooding dark eyes and copper skin muscles stretching the fit of his tight t-shirt that said, "Bitch, I know what an anapest is." Sarah Beth loved Mariana with her rainbow hair and her cobra earrings and the way her voice stretched and broke on certain words, like she couldn't believe how beautiful they were, like she'd opened up a dictionary and found a stained glass window. We had our favorites, but it was hard to argue anymore. The poets were big and brave and beautiful, and we watched them like good guys in a Saturday morning superhero show, waiting to see how they would save the world. They were almost grown-ups. They must have had a plan to save the world. But it only takes one crack to let in a rhyme. A sailor went to the sea to see what he could see, but all that he could see was the bottom of the deep blue sea. And the sea came into their circle and into their minds, its rippling blue gaze and its smell of brine, and it came to see what it could see, and all that it could see was itself. And so the slam poets and their poems were blued, were salted, were drowned, were unseen into nothingness, were washed away and re-seen to become the bottom layer of the deep blue sea. But the sea could not see us. Months afterward, we saw a homeless man, untaken, muttering under his breath as he walked, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and his eyes have all the seeming, and his shadow stretched out behind him, rippling in a parliament of ravens, and he kept walking. He was the last real person we saw. Why us? Why playground rhymes? We asked ourselves those questions in all those months after everyone died, after the laws of reality took a holiday, after the world broke into a place where screams were music and loneliness was yellow and the taste of lemon flew through the air on the backs of nine-eyed camels and flesh was an accessory worn by rhymes from the place we had unlocked. The months where our hair grew long and nails went uncut and our stomachs growled and questions were all we had. The months that became years that we lost track of. We used to go to libraries and read the books to see if we could have answers too. But the books were written by grown-ups, and it seems like grown-ups did not want to remember the things they chanted on playgrounds so long ago. But it was their fault too. The rhymes were underneath their playgrounds too, their grass and asphalt and sand. We couldn't have done it all ourselves. It couldn't have just been us. Not us. Who are we? We're Lizzie Beth and Sarah Beth. Just don't ask who's who. We try to look, but we can't see. We know that Sarah Beth and Lizzie Beth run together. We hear our footsteps side by side, but we cannot turn our heads to determine who is the other and which one we are. Mirrors and shop windows and puddles blur before our eyes. We catch sideways glimpses, Sarah Beth's braids with the pink and purple beads, long grown out to slap against our knees, Lizzie Beth's short bitten nails scratching an itch on whose nose? We remember all that Sarah Beth and Lizzie Beth were, and we are all that Lizzie Beth and Sarah Beth could have been, and we wonder which one we are right now, where we could draw the line. On the bad days, which are less and less as we relearn the world, Sarah Beth cries for her mommy and her mom and Mr. Whiskers and her big brother Ralph, and Lizzie Beth beats our fists against trees and wails for her grandma and grandpa and daddy and Orange the dog. Together we mourn all the things that were ours and all the things that might have been. Which is which? Who is who? We do not, cannot know. And neither can anyone else. The thing that broke the world and was broken into Miss Mary Mack and her legion of courtiers cannot sense us. We were never broken into, only broken, cracked and half mended and left fused together, not ourselves, but something somewhere in between. We catch hints sometimes of the rhyme that was meant for us. A wisp of the white wedding dress as it withdraws behind a window, sequins sparkling in the fading sunlight, or the rasp of its fine lace train as it trails uncertainly behind us. We hear the quick clomp of the dwarf's iron-crusted boots, the scrape of its pickaxe along the street, and within us ourself, Lizzie Beth is triumphant because it was the Hobbit movie kind of dwarf after all. But we don't see them full on because they never made it all the way here. Never got to be one solid thing. We stopped them. They stumble on behind, uncertain of us, uncertain of themselves, whispering, "Fourth is..." But Sarah Beth and Lizzie Beth are never quite there, so our rhyme can never quite come through. And so we run and run and run until the rubber soles are flapping and the bottoms of our feet are bleeding. And then we steal brand new Nikes off the shelves at Walmart and we cut holes in the ceiling of CVS pharmacies and make fire in the middle of the aisles where we roast marshmallows and make them catch fire on purpose and mash the carbon crust between chocolate and graham crackers and dare each other ourselves to climb the shelves and ride the bikes and crash all the Jeeps in the parking lot into each other. Our teeth fall out black and our hands are smoke and dirt smeared and we burn down libraries because even if it makes her feel sick inside, Sarah Beth hopes that losing the words that they're made of will send the rhymes back. And we burn down libraries because Lizzie Beth only feels right anymore when she looks at the fire. We look out for ourselves, each other. We run And we're wolves, we're wild, we're never going to grow up and leave each other behind. We'll be best friends forever.
And that was your first published story, is that right?
Yep, that was one of the stories I wrote during Clarion, and I made it go in chronological order, like I did not go when I first wrote it, and then I submitted it.
I love it. Oh my gosh. What amazing stories from both of you tonight. Just such unexpected uses of their elements. I love them all. Thank you both so much. We're here every week, and every week is different because we have different writers every time. Next week, we have Michael Haynes and Mary Berman. And I do recommend checking storyhour2020.com the day of the reading to see if there are any changes. And storyhour2020.com is a pretty handy place to go anyway, because that's where you can find out about all the writers who are coming up. And you can watch any programs you may have missed on the Story Hour page on Facebook. So thank you so much, Kel and Gabriela, for reading your stories tonight. They were amazing. And thank you to, without whom we would have no Story Hour, and I wouldn't be able to mute myself live like that. That was awesome. And all of you who are with us now, all of you who are watching later, thank you for making this 1 hour we can all share together. This has been Story Hour. Good night.